Somerset, just a little coverage.
Doesn't he? No, on the aisle right here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are ready to begin this evening's board meeting. The school board meeting of June 5th, 2018 is now called to order. The time is 6:00 p.m. At this time, we request that all electronic devices be turned off or put in the silent mode. Also, we ask that you please refrain from using flash photography except during the special presentations portion of the meeting. We would like to take this opportunity to remind members of the public of the district's mission, which is to ensure that each student reaches his or her highest personal potential and the district's vision to be a world-class school system. This evening's agenda includes the invocation, pledge of allegiance, one recognition, one acknowledgement, public comment, consent action items, which include 1 item under executive services, 12 items under academic services, 3 under business services, 5 items under human resources, 1 item under information systems, 6 items under operations, as well as 1 attorney's recommendation, and 4 items under other business. Board members, is there a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by Mr. Teuber.
Support. Ms. Fisher.
Oh, Mrs. Fisher, thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Mrs. LaRiviere will deliver the invocation, after which Mrs. Patrica will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. After the special presentations portion of the agenda, a brief recess will be called to allow those who wish to depart an opportunity to do so. Please rise for the invocation.
Dear Lord, I just thank you so much for the gift of watching our students graduate, watching them promote from 5th grade into middle school and from 8th grade into high school. Father, I especially lift up all of our students, that you would be putting a hedge of protection around them over the summer so that they are able to arrive safely back to school this coming year. I thank you that, again, we get to provide lunches for our students and meals for them throughout the summer that they might not be able to get otherwise. Father, I pray for this meeting that you would give us wisdom, guidance, clarity of mind, and help us to keep focused on our mission, that our students would achieve their highest potential. In your name, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated.
I would like to invite Dr. Wanda Creel, Chief Academic Officer, Mrs. Jeannie LaFountain, Director of Intervention Services, and Ms. Maggie Stevens, Principal of the Early Childhood Learning Services, to please join me at the lectern. The School District of Leith County recognizes the critical role of high-quality early care and education providers in the success of its students. In an effort to establish meaningful partnerships and foster positive relationships with high-quality providers, the district introduced a new initiative to recognize those programs that meet criteria specified by the district's Pre-K 3 alignment work group. As a result of their participation, these early child care and education providers received $500 in materials for their center, a free field trip to a feeder school for their children, a certificate and window clean for their center, identifying them as the preferred pre-K provider. In addition, they will be listed on the district's website. The school board and superintendent congratulate the following for their commitment to help prepare children for success in kindergarten and beyond. Florida Gulf Coast University's Family Resource Centers, presented by Dr. Beth Elliott. Yep. Done. Just, all right. As I. Okay. Gladiolus Learning and Development Center, presented by Mrs. Heather Singleton. Wait, and then you proceed and you shake their hands and stay there for a picture, please.
Yes.
The Children Learning Center at Florida Southwestern State College, represented by Ms. Martha Kebhart. The Community Children's Center, represented by Mrs. Megan Greeley Gibson. And the Learning Tree, and the Learning Tree of Temple Bethel of Fort Myers, presented by Mrs. Jessica Vernig.
And the character word for June is cooperation, working together for a common purpose. Helen Keller said, "Alone we can do so little, together we can do so much." And the design you see displayed on the screens was created by Marissa Simper, a rising senior at Estero High School. At this time, we'll take a brief recess so that those who wish to leave may do so. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Mr. Martin, would you please address the issue of public comment?
Board policy provides the opportunity at this point in the meeting to address the board concerning any matter on this meeting's agenda or any other matter relevant to the operation of the school district. If you completed a card and submitted that to me before the meeting began, you'll be called in the order of the cards submitted. If you did not submit a card but still wish to address the school board this evening, the school board chair, Ms. Morgan, will give you an opportunity in a moment to express that desire. The rules concerning public comment are posted at the back of the room. The board does not respond during public comment time to remarks made by speakers. At the conclusion of public comment time, the school board chair may address concerns raised by speakers or may assign responsibility to the superintendent to do so. Speakers are expected to act in a respectful manner. Those who fail to do so after being warned by the meeting chair may be required to leave the meeting. Disruptive attacks on individuals are prohibited. The time allowed per speaker is 3 minutes. Ms. Morgan, I have 11 cards this evening.
Thank you. Is there anybody on the right side of the auditorium who wishes to address the board that has not filled out a blue card? Is there anybody on the left side of the auditorium? Would you please state your name? Okay. We offer the opportunity for those who may be unfamiliar with the public comment process to raise their hands and provide their names. The blue card is a public record identifying those who speak and providing contact information to staff for follow-up. If you did not, and you did not, Ms. Gittens, complete a blue comment card, please proceed to Ms. Johnson on your left after completing your comments so that we can have a written record. Thank you. Mr. Martin. Please call the first card.
Due to the large number of speakers, I will call the speakers in groups of 5. So the first time I mention your name, please come to one of the 2 lecterns. The second time I call your name, you may begin your comments. Speakers 1 through 5 are Melissa Tomani, Barbara Hardy, Don Armstrong, Anthony Thomas, and Marvin Getz. Ms. Tomani. Begin.
Hello, my name is Melissa Tamani. My son recently completed 5th grade at Gulf Elementary. I'm here to discuss the social studies curriculum, or rather actually the lack thereof. I'm not sure if you are aware, but there are 64 social studies standards for 5th grade. My son is in a gifted class with all high academic achievers. They are all high 4s and 5s on the FSA, and yet his entire social study curriculum consisted of a scholastic news. His questions were things like, in the section, who wears what, the author includes statistic about dress codes too. He also discussed the royal wedding. These are not things related to our social studies standards. I'm sure there's so many standards, you probably don't have them all memorized, but the 5th grade social studies standards do focus on American history. The one article regarding American history in here, Blazing a Trail, was not discussed at all. His social studies curriculum the entire year consisted of, for 30 minutes, he would be told to do a cold read on an article and have comprehension questions answered. They did not assess social studies at all. These children do not have language barriers. These children are high achieving. These children deserve more than a supplemental social studies curriculum. And unless every person in the district is willing to survive on a supplemental salary, our students deserve more than a supplementary curriculum. Accept. Thank you.
Thank you.
Barbara Hardy.
Evening. I want to thank you for this opportunity to come and speak to you tonight. My name is Barbara Hardy, and as a 40-year resident of South Fort Myers, a grandparent, a parent in our district, I'm speaking tonight in support of Dr. Adkins' contract renewal. There are 2 reasons that I support this proposed contract. The first reason is that Lee County School District needs strong leadership. Dr. Adkins has a proven track record of a focused vision, experience at many levels, and leadership. He works collectively and collaboratively with our school board and is moving this district in a positive direction. Just as teachers and staff deserve a pay raise, so does he. We must be competitive or we will lose the leaders who have a vision and the ability to lead. The second reason I support this contract is my grandchildren. I have pictures and I will share. I did mention my grandchildren, right? All the students in Lee County, including mine, deserve a strong, visionary leader who will support our administrators, support our teachers, support our staff, and most importantly, support all of our students. Dr. Adkins is that leader, and I believe his contract should be renewed as proposed, and I urge you to approve it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Armstrong.
For the record, my name is Don Armstrong. The reason why I approach you all tonight is to talk about the superintendent's contract, to be the voice for the people who cannot be here, the voice for the people who are afraid to come here and speak up and against this contract. This is the voice of the silent majority, the ones you never hear about because they're scared of board members. These people do not like this contract at all for so many reasons, but let me go into a few of them. In this past March, you approved administration salary for over $1 million. Looking at the superintendent's previous contract, it is listed as he is an administrator as well, which would seem to reckon he would obviously get that same administration raise because it is listed in his contract. Now fast forward and you look at his contract now, the new one that he's proposed. In that contract, it talks about instructional staff is how he is listed. We all know that our teachers are underpaid, our support personnel are underpaid, and a lot of people are talking about giving them a decent raise, which is what they deserve. They reach the hearts and minds of our young. But our superintendent would get the same raise right now. So in almost a year, he would get 3 raises. Plus, you're asking for a half-cent sales tax increase on top of that. Might I remind everybody, years ago, back in the late 2000s, we had a board who gave an outrageous contract to a superintendent. That contract ended up being the demise of that superintendent. It changed the board makeup, and that superintendent ended up leaving the district. Dr. Atkins, when you was first hired, you stood up there and said, thank you for the opportunity to lead this district. I believe in our students, I believe in our staff, I believe in our parents and taxpayers. It's not about the money. I ask you tonight to just renew your original contract and keep your promise. It's not about the money, it's about our students. Because if you do not, this will become the golden parachute 2.0. Thank you.
Anthony Thomas.
I want to echo Donnie's comment. I rise today not against Dr. Atkins or against his contract. What I rise today to say to this school board is I believe it would be appropriate to hold off on renewing the superintendent's contract at this time. I want you to imagine there's a board of directors meeting. You all are a corporation, a big business, and there's going to be a shareholders meeting come November. And in November, the voters are going to be asked a question. The superintendent and his administration say, we've scoured over the budget. We can't find any other things for money purposes, so we've got to come to you guys and we've got to get you to approve this half-cent sales tax. Now, I would say to you, if Dr. Atkins can pull off the miracle of getting the voters of Lee County to vote for a sales tax increase, he ought to be superintendent for life. But the other part of that deal is, if he can't convince the voters in Lee County to go for that sales tax, then he ought not be the superintendent. You know, last year, 2016, David Cameron and EU, Great Britain wanted to go out of the EU. He campaigned against it. When Great Britain made a different decision, the Prime Minister resigned. This election in November is a referendum on Greg Atkins' administration. If you believe Greg Atkins is doing a good job, then you vote yes for the referendum to raise your taxes. But if you believe that we ought to go in a different direction, vote no. Now, I think what's happening here is you all are getting the cold feet. You all are seeing the handwriting on the wall that your sales tax is not going to pass. Donnie said something earlier. I remember that last superintendent. He was my former high school principal, Jim Browder. And I told Mayor Fisher just last night in a conversation, Mayor Fisher's sitting here on this dais because 8 years ago, the public got so angry at the board for voting for taking the morality clause out of his contract that they booted Steve and others out of office. Deja vu is happening all over again. If Mayor Fisher votes tonight to pretty pretty much nullify the election. We don't care about the election. We don't care about the sales tax. We're not going to give the public the opportunity to weigh in on whether or not they believe we're going in the right direction. Has Greg Atkins done some good things? Of course he has. Has Greg Atkins done some things that make you scratch your head? You better believe it. We don't have an organizational chart that makes any sense. Some of the board members admit that themselves. We don't have a strong number two. We've gone through a new chief financial officer in the middle of a referendum about raising taxes. There are some things that are deeply troubling that goes on with his administration. But I simply say, Greg, with all due respect, let the voters decide come November if they want to keep you here. If they want to keep you, they'll vote for the sales tax. Thank you very much.
Speakers 6 through 10 are Luca Hickman, Dina Torres, Luis Navarra, Scott Hertz, and Wendy Fiore. Mr. Getz. Mr. Getz is next. Yes, sir.
Dr. Atkins, members of the board, I'm here today to speak for the guest teachers of the district. The substitute teachers did not receive any raise. We've been slow to receive raises, period. As of March 27th approval, you've approved supervisory, technical, confidential, casual, all kinds of employees, but never anything for the substitutes. That's your statement. Well, I'm here to say I like Dr. Atkins as my leader, but a true leader stands down on a salary until all employees can receive a pay increase. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm opposed to it when there is no money. I have been told at least 20 times there is no money for substitutes, guest teachers' pay raises. If there's no money for substitutes, which are the lowest teachers on the totem pole, then there should be none for the top member. I'm asking you to put off the raise until such times we have enough funds to provide a raise decently for all the individuals. If we do not, then we're going to have fewer and fewer substitutes. And because we are independent contractors, we don't hold the contract. My people are considering not coming at all and to choose 1 or 2 days to stand down. Now you put your 500 to 600 every day and see if you can manage it. So I hope you'll do the right thing and come up with something and ask Dr. Atkins to hold off until such time we can work out the funds to provide a raise for everyone. Thank you.
Luca Hickman.
Ms. Chairwoman, members of the board, and Dr. Atkins, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Luca Hickman, and I am an engineer and a patent attorney, and I've been living in Southwest Florida now for many years, and I'm proud to call Lee County my home. I'm here tonight to voice my concern about the approval of the pay increase to Superintendent Atkins, and to respectfully request that you table this matter for the time being. Doing so will give the board and the public further time for research and consideration. The proposed contract tonight, on the agenda tonight, has a base salary of over $200,000 per year, with an additional $100,000 in benefits, bringing the total impact to Lee County to over $300,000. Now, to put that in perspective, that's more than our governor makes. That's more than our senators make. From my research, it looks like it's almost as much as the Vice President of the United States makes. And finally, to give a final comparison, it's greater than 1/5 of what the average starting salary for a teacher in Lee County is. Now, as I understand it, the Florida statutes kind of lay out a calculation scheme for determining a minimum base salary. right? Now, from what I could tell in my research, it seems that this particular contract is approximately $60,000 above the statutory minimum base salary. I think the question that many of the commenters tonight are raising is, at a time when there's a budget crunch, at a time when there's a consideration for a tax increase, does it really make sense to increase the salary of the superintendent by $23,000 over last year's contract? What I suggest is to simply table this motion for the time being, and for the time being to continue doing research, to continue waiting until the voters have a chance to speak about the sales tax increase, and to re-examine this issue at that time. In the interim, what I would suggest is simply continuing on under the current contract at that current salary rate. So once again, I'd like to thank you for your time and thank you for your consideration of our comments tonight. Thank you.
Dina Torres.
To the reassignment of Dr. Scott Lee Master from Tortuga Preserve Elementary to Manatee Elementary. Although I cannot say that I'm happy about this change, I can tell you that I do understand Dr. Lee Master's decision and I respect it. I dare to say you will ever be able to find one person that has had the pleasure of having Dr. Lee Master at their school that would welcome his leaving. I'm sure the countless emails you have received can attest to that. The thing is, we all recognize truly how special he is as an educator, a leader, and a person. His ability to touch the lives of our children and positively influence them is unparalleled, and his presence at Tortuga will be greatly missed. Manatee is truly lucky to have him. And although it saddens me to see him go, I do understand that it is his decision to go, as it is his very nature, so that he may touch even more lives. The lives of our children, the parents, and the staff at Tortuga will forever be changed for the better because of his influence. I would like to close by asking you to please carefully consider any future changes at our school. While I have heard many wonderful things about Mrs. Shonak and do not doubt her ability to continue to lead Tortuga towards even greater success, the fact remains that our school has now seen 3 principals and 4 assistant principals in 4 short years. As much as our children need great leaders and positive influences in their lives, they need and they strive on consistency. While it's true that the only constant in life is change, too much change and instability in young lives can be detrimental to their success. The success of our children should always be of the highest priority, especially at a Title I school like Tortuga. Thank you.
Luis Navarro.
Technology. Good evening, Superintendent, School Board. Lou Navarre, retired teacher from the district with many accolades. We'll skip everything else. A special hello to Dr. Kunkel. I saw you yesterday at the teachers union meeting there with the execs. That was me waving frantically as you drove away. That's okay, I think you recognized me. Tonight I'm recommending the board members that you do not vote the superintendent contract, but go back and renegotiate. Here's the reasoning. A 13% raise is outrageous. $209,000, the teachers got a 1 to 2% raise depending on where they were on the different salary schedules last year. Your total package is over $309,000 according to the news press. You want a 10% annuity for what? You have the FRS, Florida Retirement System. Does anyone in administration, teachers, and support personnel get that? No. 20 weeks of pay if fired? The teachers and the support personnel don't get that. And like I said last board meeting, if you look funny at an administrator, you may not be rehired. There is no more due process. And I always say thank you, Governor Scott and the state legislature. Small wonder you need 275 to 400 teachers next year. We're talking about parity with the system with your salary. Why do we have to compete with other districts? Sarasota County Superintendent only gets $185,000 a year, and they just renewed his contract. I'm not convinced that the superintendent is trying to get salaries on par, as stated by one board member here. My recommendations, you freeze the current salary and get a pay raise according to next year's teacher's pay raise and the personnel. Your contract should be year to year, like the teachers and the support staff. You do not need an annuity. I told you last meeting, freeze your salary and your platinum parachute and donate the extra money to school safety to protect our students. Shame on you, Dr. Atkins. Board members, you can fool the public some of the time.
Mr. Navarro, please hold your comments. I need to provide you a caution to please constrain your remarks to matters relevant to the operations of the school district and refrain from personal attacks on individuals. You have 43 seconds remaining. Begin.
Thank you. Your contract should be like the teachers and support staff. You do not need an annuity. I told the last board to freeze your salary and the platinum parachute, that's okay to say, and donate the extra money to school safety. Board members, you can fool the public some of the time, but you can't fool them all the time, and they're going to remember this with the sales tax increase and the vote. You want a sales tax increase, but you had over $890,000 to sneak it through till the legislature caught you. Your money for the superintendent for a huge salary increase, you got that? Is that transparency? I call that hypocrisy. Thank you very much.
Scott Hertz.
Chair and members of the board, I'm here too tonight to speak about the contract for Dr. Atkins. However, I have a different view and impression than some of the previous speakers. I speak to you as a father of 2 children that have been going through the school system. My youngest child just attended a promotion ceremony to go from 5th grade to middle school, and my elder child is already in middle school. I've been a member of the District Advisory Committee for I think 4 or 5 years now, and also a member of the Executive District Advisory Committee, so I've had an opportunity to work with Dr. Atkins and some of his staff and see some of the changes. Dr. Atkins came to us in a time of turmoil when what this district needed most was stability. And that's the central theme of what I want to talk to you about tonight. Stability and continuity. It's kind of odd to me that I listen to some of the other speakers talking about stability and continuity, but they want to deny a leader like Dr. Atkins and the school district that same type of stability and continuity that they are seeking elsewhere. My research has told me otherwise from some of these statements that are made. It's my understanding that the Collier County Superintendent, for a smaller school district than ours, currently has a salary of $220,000. Ms. Kamala Patan also earns raises with the same percentage as teachers, similar as this contract proposes for Dr. Atkins on a going forward basis. A survey of other districts, which I assume you have some of this information, I don't necessarily need to read it all, but it's my understanding, take Brevard, $223,800. Certainly there's larger school districts like Miami-Dade and Broward where the superintendent's salaries are in the $300,000 range. I certainly wouldn't propose that. But going from $185,000 to $209,000 still leaves Dr. Atkins making less than many or most of the other superintendents that are of similar sized school districts. If we don't properly compensate our leaders and our talented people, they won't stay. Same as you were just told about your substitute teachers. The district needs to look at salaries across the board and compensate people appropriately to want to work here. We're in our 3rd year of Dr. Atkins' leadership. I think there has been a lot of change, and I think the change has been good, and now what I see is some stability coming. I listen to what goes on with the plans for the 2020 vision as we start to extend to move that out more years so that we can continue to plan as we get closer to 2020, and I think it's important to continue on the direction we're going. I think his leadership has been solid and dependable. In today's climate of uncertainty, both from the political standpoint on how our schools are funded and how the legislature changes how things work, our inability to be rated as a high-growth district without having a sales tax because we don't meet the criteria for that extra funding, as well as with the additional emphasis on safety and security, I think it's imperative to have a calm and composed leader like Dr. Atkins at the helm. I think it's also important in any relationship there's predictability for both sides. I viewed the clause as being able to terminate Dr. Atkins with...
Mr. Hertz, your time is up, sir.
Thank you.
Fiore?
My name is Wendy Fiore. I teach at Cypress Lake Middle School. I came to Florida 5 years ago from Connecticut for economic reasons. More on my husband's side, because as a teacher in Connecticut, I certainly wouldn't move to Florida for economic reasons. You opened the meeting talking about the district's vision in a world-class school system, and I'm in the trenches of that world-class school system. My children are there. I'm asking you to hold. My base salary is $24,000, which is his increase. If I can survive in Lee County on $24,000 with children, you can survive on $180,000. My children are sitting in classrooms with 41 students. That is not a world-class school system. Cypress pulls an A, this ridiculous grading system in Florida. I'll hold my comment there. It means nothing because we love those children. And my daughter's teachers love them. And we go to work every day for no money. And I have to work part-time jobs after part-time jobs and not see my children because my base salary is $24,000. I have 3 degrees. I have been teaching for 32 years. I have 4 certifications. Do my qualifications meet yours? I think they do. But I show up every day. I take maybe 4 sick days a year, and I worked through every free period I had because there were no subs ever. Ever. Every day an email went out. Is there anybody willing to work through their planning? Is there anybody willing to work through their planning? We have no subs. And I'll say it again, I work at Cypress Lake Middle School, one of the best schools in the district, a school where people are begging to teach there. A school where parents are lined up and begging, please accept my children. I want our children to go here, like we have a say. Well, you have a say. You're going to confuse the public. They don't understand the difference between capital funds and salary funds. They don't. And the news press does not get it right a lot of the times. You're going to go and give $200,000, $300,000 salary to one man and then ask them to dig in their pockets to pay. And all they're going to see is we're paying that one man. And then when the teachers are going to cry, help, we're drowning in debt, they're not going to hear.
Thank you, Ms. Fiore. Your time's up, ma'am. Brandy Bliss. Please refrain from reaction to the speaker's comments. Thank you. Ms. Bliss.
Brandy Bliss, and I have been with the Lee County School District for 5 years. I moved here, kind of the same situation as Ms. Fiore. We chose to move to Florida, though, from Texas, and I learned very quickly that things here are very different. I took a $7,000 pay cut moving here from Texas, and am doing the exact same job that I did there. I urge you, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but I urge you to table your salary increase for Dr. Atkins until you can properly, increase the salary of your teachers, your substitutes, your support staff, because they so desperately need it. I have been involved in the negotiations last year, almost every single meeting, and it was disheartening and embarrassing to see that teachers got a range of an increase from $500 to $1,000 or $1,500, and that was it. And this year, it's somewhere in the range of $600 to $800. In addition to, we're hearing that we are going to be paying more for our insurance next year in order to pay for SROs in the building, which is quite disturbing. So I hope that you will, as a board, reconsider this decision, and that you will hear the cries of the teachers who are taking care of the students of this county. Thank you.
Those are all the cards, Ms. Morgan.
Gwen Gittens.
I was sitting there and I was going to talk about another topic, but after listening to the last lady, it brought to mind the days that I left home at 5:30 in the morning, leaving Lehigh, driving to the Cape to teach, doing clubs and organizations after school, coming back to Miramar to work part-time at a clothing store, go home, do lesson plans, do it all over again the next day. I remember that there were times, I don't know how I got from point A to point B, just kind of pointed the car and it went there. And I had a master's degree at the time. In fact, Dr. Atkins was one of my teachers. Like I said, I changed what I was going to say because she's really telling the honest truth. There's too many people that are working so very hard to make sure that this district runs like it should. You know, thank you to all of you for what you do. But one thing I want you to think about on board decisions, you're elected to represent your community. That's your community. Your community is telling you how they feel and what they think. They're all different. Your demographics are different in your different districts, and they don't always agree. Let's have some more spirited, educated discussions. Listen to our communities, educate our communities. They're not involved because we talk in $25 words and they only understand $5 words. So bring it down to their level so they do know the difference in capital, so that they can participate and tell you from where you're coming from. When you get up there, tell them this for me. Listen to your communities and your conscience, and then vote. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone who came to speak this evening. Thank you for those of you who shared your comments regarding the contract. I will say that there was one very significant misstatement by Mr. Hickman about a $300,000 compensation package for Dr. Atkins. I'm not going to go into the details, but I can tell you that we had a conversation this afternoon about that in the briefing, and that number is completely erroneous. And if you would like to watch the briefing this afternoon and see Mr. Martin give a breakdown of the contract, you certainly are welcome to do so. Let's see. Mrs. Torres, thank you for coming to speak about Tortuga. I really do appreciate your comments. I think we all appreciate your comments about how difficult it is to sustain a school culture when leadership is moving. It's never an easy decision to move school leadership, but I do believe that Dr. Atkins has the best interest of Tortuga at heart, and will make certain that you have leadership that you will appreciate. and enjoy. So, and by all means come back if that's not the case, but Dr. Atkins generally makes very, very good assignments, appropriate assignments for schools. Let's see, what else? I'm going to ask Dr. Atkins to address some of the comments made about teacher salaries, because I don't understand the numbers that were provided. So I'm going to ask him to pick that piece up. Mrs. Tomani, we have your contact information on the blue cards. Oh, there you are. So somebody will get in touch with you and talk to you about the curriculum. I do want to just point out, and well, I'm going to point out the fact that in the past 10 years, the school district has received for operating funds, and those are the funds from which we get teacher salaries. We have received, I'm going to say, I believe it's $42 or $47 this year over 10 years ago, something to that effect. And during that time, this school district, and during a time when we had lots of mandates coming down from the state about how we were going to spend money in our operating fund, during that time, previous school boards and this school board have managed to give salary increases, small that they may be, to staff, because we truly do want, as a school district, to provide competitive salaries for the people who are in the classrooms. That is a priority for this board, and Dr. Atkins has worked very hard to increase operational efficiency and effectiveness so that, in fact, we could save money in our operations and provide those small salary increases, though they may be. We all agree that teachers are not paid enough in Florida, not paid enough in this county. We would like to be able to do more, but you know, we do what we can best with what we've got, and so that's all I'm going to say about salary. But I am going to ask Dr. Atkins to comment about that. I'd
be happy to.
Thank you.
First of all, teacher salary has been a priority for this district for a long time. If you're going back even to 2005, we really worked hard to get the beginning teacher salary up to at least comparable around the area. We have it up there now to a little bit over $40K. Right now, our teacher salaries with this past negotiations puts us at the 55th percentile, so we're above the state average. Not by much, but we are above the state average. I will say that we were talking to the school principals today. One of the things that we face with the upcoming budget, because again, this board has, over the past 3 years, provided more of an increase for teachers and actually all of our regular employees than has the state provided the school district in funding. And what I mean by that is that the typical salary increases range anywhere from 2.5, most of them over 3% per year. Each one of those years, the increase that came to this board from the state was generally under 2%. So despite those challenges, we were able to dig deep and get salary increases to our employees that were greater than what the state was giving us in terms of operational general dollars. Now, meeting with the principals today, one of the things that we feel we have to do with this budget that we've just received from Tallahassee is, in addition to not receiving 3% or anything like that in terms of an increase, we also have had the additional challenge of dealing with Hurricane Irma, increases in insurance, both for buildings but also for our employees' health insurance, increases in retirement. To get the increases that we need, we have to become even more efficient. And we've instituted our efficiency audit. We're getting preliminary data back on that, and I think that's going to help us squeeze every dime that we can out of our budget so that we can put that back to salaries. Because one of the things that I'll tell you is that our neighbors, particularly to the south, they have a larger tax base, and they are also looking to pass a referendum that will go into their operational budget, which is going to go right into salaries for their employees, and we compete against that group. So we have to stay competitive, which means that we have to put every dollar that we can, particularly into our teacher salaries. So that remains a priority of this board and this district.
Thank you. And shame on me, I'm going to go back and talk a little bit about the numbers. Dr. Atkins, in the contract, the proposed base salary is $209,000. He is entitled to receive an increase in base salary in the amount of the average increase for staff in the district. He gets the same benefits as every other employee, so you don't include that in his compensation. He gets the same benefits, insurance, retirement, sick leave, vacation leave. All of those things are things that the rest of the staff get. He will receive a 10% investment for investment in a retirement account, and he will get annual leave. I believe, and Mr. Martin, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that the total number comes to $235,000,
The total financial effect of the position based upon the contract is the number that you see on the agenda, item 309057. But as Ms. Morgan mentioned, there are components that are factored into that calculation, which are benefits that are received by every employee, such as contribution to the Florida retirement systems of Social Security, those two mandated by statute, and also contribution for health insurance and life insurance as is received by every employee in the district. When you back out those benefits, the total is $237,818.
Thank you. And at some point, we should probably provide the inflated number for the average teacher salary, too, so that we can show that the compensation for teachers is well beyond, what we pay for teachers is well beyond the base salary that we pay, correct? Right. So I just wanted to make that clear. Do you want to say anything else?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Martin? Okay. Thank you. And now we'll go back to the regular meeting. Next is approval of action items in the agenda under consent. Board members, I do want to make a comment here. For the benefit of the public, the documentation for action items listed under consent is made available to board members 7 days prior to the board meeting. We board members are expected to review all of the material, and we have the opportunity during that period of time to speak with the superintendent and ask any questions we may have regarding the recommendations. And then board members may, if they wish to have a board discussion about a recommendation being made by the superintendent, may choose to pull the item under the consent agenda. So board members, are there any agenda items you wish to pull for discussion under the unfinished business tabled items portion of the agenda?
Yes,
Ms. LaRiviere.
I do. Under item letter E, Human Resources, I'd like to pull items 1 and 2.
Okay, 1 and 2. Ms. Fisher, do you have any?
I have none this evening.
Ms. Giovanelli?
I would like to pull, and I'm sorry I didn't let y'all know this, but after this speaking, I think we need to have a discussion at the table regarding the contract that we've never had. So I would want to pull the recommendation from Mr. Martin.
It's not in the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Patrica?
Oh, no, thank you.
Mr. Toiber?
No, ma'am.
Dr. Kuckel? And I have none. So is there a motion to approve the agenda's consent action items with the exception of E, 1 and 2?
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Kuckel, seconded by Mr. Toiber. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, we have one pull to address. That's E, I'm going to have to find it, E 1 and 2. Let's see.
It's actually 2 items.
Human Resources. And 151.
Okay, wait, I'm just trying to get it off the agenda, but I'm going to ask Dr. Adkins to please read E1.
Yes, first recommendation, I recommend board approval of the general personnel recommendations, including administrative, certificated support, substitute staff, and out-of-field appointments.
Board members, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. LaRiviere, seconded by Mr. Teuber. Discussion.
Yes, the part that I wanted to address, and I want to thank Ms. Torres for her eloquent words this evening. And by the way, she doesn't need to come back and talk with us if there are any problems. She just pulls up into my driveway.
Okay.
And that works really well. I just wanted to say that this time of year happens, and we see changes. Last-minute retirements, changes within families where a principal may need to make a change because of family needs. We've seen that lots of different scenarios happen. And so we, as a district, not me, but our human resources, academic services, Dr. Adkins, and others work together to find what will make the best and smooth transition. And it's hard for those who are losing people that they love. But there's also a gift that happens. And I just want to thank you for those of you who worked on that. I want to thank Dr. LeMaster for speaking with people yesterday. And kudos to everyone for making wise choices along the way so we can move our students as far as they can go.
Thank you. Mr. Teuber.
Thank you. We also have several retirements that we lose. Mr. Dobbins, I've been with Mr. Dobbins since 2002, and I encourage his retirement. But we also have the retirement, the approval of our attorney, our legal beagle, Mr. Martin. And I just want to take this moment from myself and the rest of the board to express our thanks and our gratitude for the service that you've given our board and the direction. And then finally, on another note, we are losing, we're having the resignation of Kenneth Savage, one of our phenomenal teachers in one of our turnaround schools who actually brought James Stevens, one that we hear a lot about, from a failing school to a B school, and it's sorry to see him leave. But the frustrating part of it is that he got wooed away by the state of Florida. They gave him the award of the #1 teacher in the state and then gave him an offer they couldn't refuse. We keep getting the best, and this goes for Mr. Savage. It goes for all of our teachers and our principals. We have the best in the state of Florida. We just had our ROTC instructor make National Instructor of the Year. We have the best in Lee County. It's something to be proud of. So it's a bittersweet that he moves on to bigger and better things with the state and can help other districts. But it just also reinforces the great staff and team that we have in Lee County. And I just want to thank all of our employees, from our teachers to our support personnel and our administrators, that we have the best. So thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, is there all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Adkins, we have to do number 2.
E2.
E2, 4E2, yep.
I recommend board approval of the reappointments for the 2018-2019 school year effective July 1st, 2018.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mrs. Fisher.
Second.
Second by Mrs. LaRiviere. Discussion.
And again, this goes along with pretty much similar to what was said before, but I do appreciate the reappointment of some high-quality people that we have leading the helm. I have to say, after 31, well, no, it's been more than 31 years. That's how long I taught. But after all these years within the district, I have to say right now we have the best leadership at the helm than I have ever seen. And I just want to thank all of you, and from directors, executive directors, coordinators. We're seeing people that are working non-stop, and no one is thinking about what time I check in and what time I check out. It's all about doing whatever we can to get the job done. So I just want to thank you for being with us, and I hope you stay for a very long time.
Thank you. Are there any other board member comments? No? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Dr. Atkins, would you please introduce administrators in attendance with a new
Yes,
assignment? absolutely.
We have a rather lengthy list tonight, so please bear with me. The first appointment we're very excited about, Callie Rodden, Government and Community Relations Coordinator for Resource Development. She was a 2017 Florida Assistant Principal of the Year, now Principal, James Stevens International Academy, Kelly Stedman. And these are principal changes. Shelley Margraf, Colusa Elementary Principal, to Hector Cafferado Jr., Elementary Principal. Michelle Court, Gulf Middle Principal, to Island Coast High Principal. James Moreland, Hector A. Cafferado Jr. Principal, to Gulf Middle Principal. Kristen Bueno, Island Coast High Principal, Lexington Middle Principal. Robert Butts, Mariner High Principal, to Fort Myers High Principal. These are transfer and change of assignment. Thomas Michael, Challenger Middle Assistant Principal, now named Mariner High Principal. Angela Davis, Harns Marsh Elementary Teacher, to Ray V. Podorf Elementary Assistant Principal. Candace Alivedo, Human Resource Coordinator, Continuous Improvement, to Curriculum and Instruction Innovation Assistant Director, Curriculum. One is Ashley Lamar, Manatee Elementary Principal, turnaround to Colusa Elementary Principal. Robert Cooper, Mirror Lakes Elementary Principal, turnaround school, to Bonita Springs Elementary Principal. Michelle Freeman, Professional Standards and Equity Director, Professional Standards and Equity, to Franklin Park Elementary Principal. Shonak, School Development Assistant Principal, to Tortuga Preserve Elementary Principal. Scott Leemaster, Tortuga Preserve Elementary Principal, turnaround school, to Manatee Elementary Senior Principal, turnaround school. Casey Starrock, Treeline Elementary Assistant Principal, to Orange River Elementary Principal. And that is my list for this evening, so thank you.
Congratulations to all of you.
What a team.
Thank you. Next is attorney recommendations.
Yes, Ms. Morgan, board members, this evening I recommend board approval of the employment contract with Superintendent Dr. Gregory K. Atkins at the annual cost of $309,057.
Thank you. You've heard Mr. Martin's recommendation. Mrs. Patrica has made the motion to approve. Dr. Kuckel seconded. Discussion. Mrs. Giovanelli.
My concern is, why do we have to do this now when the contract is not actually, his contract doesn't expire until October? I just don't understand why we're rushing this. We've never had this conversation. I would like to see us wait until his contract is up or renews. At that point in time, discuss it. I know that's October and everybody has conversation that it should be before the new board, and some people think it should be after the new board. I just think it should save us money right now to not renew and just leave the contract the way it is until October. It's going to cost us more money, and if we should be physically responsible and we're conscientious about how we're spending our money and what message it gives to the community. That's my opinion, but that's where I would like to see it wait.
Thank you. Any other board member comments? Mrs. Petricka.
We haven't really had a chance to discuss this as a board, so I'm going to make some comments if that's okay, not in response to anybody, just how I'm feeling and why I'm supporting this motion this evening. I've made similar comments in public before. I want to talk about integrity. Integrity is putting the needs of the organization above the needs of the individual. And when I first joined this board, I discussed Dr. Adkins' salary with him, which in my opinion was too low given the position that he had. He would not discuss his salary with me until he got his staff at or above 50% as compared to education staff across the state of Florida. To me, that's integrity. You know, some strange comparisons have been made here to other salaries, and I don't think it's a secret to anybody that I moved from New York because taxes were too high. The superintendent in Niskayuna, with 5,400 students in 5 schools, was making $285,000 a year plus an $85,000 benefit package. It's a big part of the reason why I left. Dr. Adkins runs the 35th largest school district in the nation and the 9th largest in the state of Florida, and this salary does not get him to the 9th highest salary in the state of Florida. Dr. Adkins was the 4th superintendent this district had seen in 6 years. There was incredible turnover at the top. Consistency and stability at the top of any organization, I believe, are absolutely essential for the success of that organization. We had principals, I've compared it to whack-a-mole in the past, right? We had principals who were like hiding out in their schools, afraid to be innovative. And teachers in schools were reacting to that leadership in the buildings because you never knew what was going to happen at the top of this organization. In the 3 years that Dr. Adkins has been here, he's not only brought consistency and stability, but he's brought innovation and vision. I believe that Dr. Adkins has the ability to lead a revolution in the state of Florida to change the face of public education. I believe you have the ability to do that. I don't think that $209,000 is appropriate compensation for that revolution, but I also am banking on your servant's heart and your loyalty to this district. That's why I'm approving $209,000 as opposed to what I think you're really worth. And those are my comments and why I will be. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention was the Collier pay issue for teachers. They are coming to the end of a tax-neutral referendum that was passed in Collier County where they take $1 million out of capital and put it into operating for salaries. So we obviously can't do that. We're asking for help in capital. So we obviously can't do that. So in addition to that, they have higher property values. So their tax roll is higher. They are coming to the end of that this year. They're looking at dipping into reserves to keep teacher salaries where they are this year and then renewing or seeking that referendum again a year from now. If they can't get that referendum approved, they will be in a crisis in terms of teacher salaries. So I just wanted to mention that. So those are my comments.
Any other comments? Mrs. Fisher.
Okay, so the word of the month is cooperation, working together for a common purpose. I'm going to read a little bit from an article I just finished writing. As we focus on the strengths of the Lee County School District, we can work together to solve existing problems, and they do exist. Today's economy finds us dealing with decreased federal and state dollars, unfunded mandates, a diminished tax base, and not enough money for the classroom. In spite of this, school staff members have worked diligently to keep the ball rolling. The children are making progress, as evidenced by an improving academic growth, a narrowed achievement gap, improved graduation rate, industry certifications being at an all-time high, along with athletic and arts achievements. Transportation has been streamlined, specialized programs have been increased and enhanced, thanks to our highly effective teachers and staff. Lee County Schools are diligently working on identifying funding sources that will enable us to provide the most adequate safety and education experiences for our students. With ongoing fiscal responsibility, we have been able to manage a raise for staff members while other government entities have had to cut positions and impose furloughs. However, we are experiencing extraordinary growth in the Lee County school student population. We need to build schools, maintain the ones we have, and provide safety and security to benefit all. And for these reasons, we have voted to go out for the half-penny sales tax in the November election. It's important for the members of the community to recognize that the future of our community depends on their support and encourage all to exercise both the privilege and the responsibility in being registered to vote and to use a powerful voice. Achieving these goals involves communication, collaboration, and cooperation. And in order to achieve that, we need strong leadership. We need stability and consistency. And for that reason, I will support the superintendent's, actually without the benefits, it's $237,818. So I will support that contract this evening because I think that we have made amazing progress in the last 3 years with his leadership and with his vision. And working together, we need to continue moving forward. We do not need to stop and take a break and let things fall apart. Change is constant and inevitable, and we have had many changes as evidenced here this evening. These are decisions that are made to benefit our students and staff and ultimately our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Dr. Kuckel.
Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit in addition to what my fellow board members have said about the magnitude of the job. I don't think anybody really understands the size and comprehensiveness of this district. We are a $1.5 billion corporation, larger than most every corporation in Southwest Florida, the second largest employer in Southwest Florida. In addition to educating 95,000 students who come from all backgrounds, have many different skill levels coming into the classroom, Dr. Atkins also runs a $65+ million transportation program, 750 buses on the road every day, a $65+ million food operation service serving students breakfast and lunch every day, and a multi-million dollar construction and maintenance program, way beyond the responsibilities of many who own and run an organization of one nature. Dr. Atkins' job is more than 24/7. He is available morning, noon, and night. We get texts from him in the middle of the night, early in the morning, on vacation, during holidays. He is there all the time. Everybody reports to Dr. Atkins. The buck stops here. I've been in education 50 years almost, and been in this district since 1997, almost 20 years, and I've seen superintendents come and go, and many that did not last long. It's very difficult to turn this huge ship going in the right direction with all the arrows in the right direction. And Dr. Atkins has a phenomenal leadership ability to do that. I think you saw tonight he knows who to put in what seats and where on the bus. And he does a great job of that, and he knows how to motivate. All of our numbers in terms of moving toward a world-class school system since Dr. Atkins has been here have gone up, up, and up. We are so fortunate. Superintendents in a district this size don't really last too long. It's very political. It's a very hard job, and he's willing to stay on, and he's making a difference. And we haven't seen that for a few years. All of you were here when we went through several superintendents, and when all the indicators of high-performing schools went down and dropped dramatically, we are moving back up. It's harder and slower to move up because you have to pull everybody back together. Dr. Atkins is a great leader. As was said, he's making the lowest salary of other comparable districts our size in the state. And we need to keep him here and help him to thrive in the very comprehensive job that he has. So I will be supporting that, and with a great big smile. Every time I call Dr. Atkins, he's there, he responds, things happen, and when I go out into the schools and out into the community, he knows everyone. He's involved, he has his ear to the ground, just does amazing things that I didn't think anybody could step into this district and do. So thank you, Dr. Atkins. I will be smiling when I vote yes.
Mr. Teuber.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank you for the work you did on the contract. You know, this is a business decision, and it's about business, and it really irritates me when you hear people speak of mistruths and falsities, and it goes all the way back to the golden parachute with Dr. Browder. So I'm going to start there and tell you the story, because the story of Dr. Atkins and the story of Dr. Browder, it's all about business. And you tell me if it's good business or it's bad business. You know, we had a terrible superintendent that was driving this district into the ground when we got rid of him, and he sued the district. At the time when we had our contract, and it was time for Dr. Sanders to leave, and he wouldn't leave, and so we terminated him. It cost the school district $60,000 in attorney's fees. You know, the board voted to terminate him, and it was for cause, and we had to litigate for $60,000 to get rid of that superintendent. So keep that legal fee in mind. And so, but he got nothing. He got absolutely nothing. So then we brought in Dr. Browder, and Dr. Browder said, "Pay me what you paid that guy." It was $150,000, and he said, "I won't ask for a raise until I prove myself." So that was 2002. He worked for $150,000, you know, the increments everybody else got, but he worked for $150,000 with no other contract until 2007, for 5 years. Then his contract came up for renewal. At that time, they had just hired a superintendent of similar size up in Pasco County for $280,000, and they were offering a job out in Indian River, and the job was they were looking for someone for a school district smaller than ours for about $235,000. The FSBA came back and said, this job, if you're going to hire somebody else, it's going to cost you $250,000. That's just the going price. So here we are with having to either have a contract for Dr. Browder for $250,000 a year, or he'll leave and go to Indian River, and we lose a good superintendent, a known quantity, and get somebody and we don't even know. But there's more to that. First, we have to do a search, and a search for a CEO is $100,000. Then we pay another $100,000 every single year, and not even know what we're going to get. So Dr. Browder came to me, because I was the board chair, and he said, "I just want 3 things." He said, the first thing I wanted, he said, I want to have that I could self-direct my own stocks and bonds. No cost to the school district. All right, we're 1 in a row. What's the second one? He said, the second thing is, he said, I don't want to have to tell the entire board every time somebody calls me to look for a job. Because he was very popular, and there's a lot of super schools that wanted him, but every time somebody called, he had to disclose it to the entire board, and we had one board member that didn't care about the school district, didn't care about people. All they cared about was getting reelected and doing things to make the news. And so as soon as the news would come to the board, it would go out on the news, and he just got tired of it. He said, I want to change it so that if somebody calls me and asks me for a job, he said, I just have to tell the board chair, and he said, and if I want to apply for a job, we tell the whole board. And I said, I think this board will agree with that. And he said, the third thing, he goes, I know we don't have any money. And this was 2005. Story hasn't changed from 2005 to 2017, and we just don't have any money. And he said, I understand that. He said, look, I'm not going to ask for a raise. He said, I'll stay at my current salary. He said, all I ask is when it's time to leave. And he said, I plan on, at that time, it was 2005, he said, I plan on going to 2008 and doing one more term, 2012. He said, so I'm staying 8 more years. He said, when I leave, you just write me a check for $350,000. So I said, let me think about that. Let's do the math. And he said, and if somebody wants me to leave before that, he said, you don't even have to have, one of the board members want me gone. He said, I'll leave. He said, I'll leave today. He said, I'll leave a week from now. I'll train the next guy. As long as you want me here, then you write me a check. So let's do the math. $100,000 to do a search, and $100,000 every single year. So in 2010, when he left, he had been here 4 years, plus $100,000 for the search. So it's $500,000, and we wrote him a check for $350,000. Good deal for the taxpayers or bad deal? And when they got rid of him, he left because the board that came in didn't even give him the opportunity to work with him. They said on the campaign trail, he's gone when we're elected. So he left. Had he stayed, and matter of fact, Tom Scott had even said, I wish I would have gave him a chance, we could have even got more tax savings. So that's the first deal. So now take a look at this deal. We're paying a superintendent that's in the lowest 10 percentile of the state of CEOs that run school districts in the state of Florida. He can go a lot of different places and we can lose him. Or he can retire. He's got enough time and he can retire. He's quite the farmer. He's got enough, on his own stuff. I wonder how he can do that all the time as much as he spends with there. His wife, God love her, she carries the, she carries the farm. So he can leave. So we're just saying, so the fact that, well, he's been here, he's not going to leave, that's disrespect. And as Ms. Patrica said, he never even asked about money, but now it's the time of, do we keep a known quantity for a value that's less than what we should be paying? Because any good company should be paying in about the third quartile. You don't want to pay the highest, but you want to be above the 50%. Between 50 and 65% of comparables is a good investment for a business. That's how you run a good business. Well, he's down in the bottom quartile, and even when we move him up, he's still not in the 50th quartile. He's still about 35th quartile, 35th percent in the state. It's not even fair. But the audacity for somebody to say that we shouldn't be paying him what we need, we'll lose him. And the turmoil and the instability that this district will have as we're now moving forward and doing great things, our Vision 2020 is coming into fruition, and the stability of this entire community rests on the leadership of this man. It's a clear-cut business decision. I will be supporting this because, he asked for what he asked for because he understands the temperament, and he's sensitive to what the community has, because we are a blue-collar community, and Dr. Atkins gets it. But you need to pay the man at least close to try to make it so it's respectable. It's not even close to what it's worth in the comparables, but at least it gives him some respect, and it also gives us the ability to be able to keep some of our people in the other positions, for example, head of transportation or head of IT, that don't even have to compete in the educational world, compete across the district. We'll lose them if we don't get their pays where they need to be. We lost our CFO because we didn't pay her anywhere close to the comparables to an institution, FSW, 1/3 our size. They just had to pay her a little more money. And they didn't pay her a little bit, they paid her a ton more because that's what she's worth. And she left with tears because she's like, I just can't pass up that for my family. But she would love to stay here, and if we would have given her anything with any type of respect, we would have kept one of the best CFOs in the state of Florida. So we can't afford to lose our superintendent, and we can't afford to lose our key people in our administration because we're not being competitive. That's bad business, and it's bad for the taxpayers. Thank you.
Well, I can't add anything to that other than to say that this is.
I wanted to make a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pam. Go right ahead.
But, and I will try to be very short and brief because we've heard quite a bit. We get a lot of data from people who have done good research, and I appreciate that. I have done my own research, and I've had to try to triangulate all of the data because we have to look at not only this number of students served, the diversity of the students served, whether or not the superintendent has come into a difficult situation to bring the school district out of that difficult situation. We also have to look at comparable CEO salaries within our area, not just within education. We also have to look at not only that, but how many chief financial officers and/or assistant superintendents they have helping them do their job. Most of the school districts, and I will just say 3, Hillsborough has 12 assistant superintendents and chief officers below the superintendent. Polk County has 8 chief officers and 1 deputy superintendent. And then Miami-Dade has 11 chief officers and assistant superintendents. In other words, some of them, yes, not only we'll compare with one county in Hillsborough, for example, let's say they're getting 225, and look at how many students they have. But look at how many other people they have to have there in place to do their job, to make sure it's done effectively. Dr. Atkins, we all knew when we hired you that we had to beg for you to raise that salary. And we knew that we were paying you less than you deserved. You have proven yourself. You have proven yourself to our administrators, to our teachers. Right now, the confidence level that I'm seeing within our staff members is far above anything that I have ever seen before. The other aspect that I am finding we need to consider as well is the fact that I have to go back to what Ms. Patrica said. We are looking at a man of very high integrity. You have feet of clay, and I know you're going to make your mistakes. We all do. But you own up to them as soon as they're made, and you deal with them. So I have to say, in all honesty, I have to support this contract. One of the reasons why I need to see that it happens and moves forward is because our administrators at our schools, our teachers, need to see that you are going to be leading at the helm. They do not need to see that there might be indecisiveness going forward. At any time, we can say bye-bye. Not planning on it. That can happen. That can happen when a new board is elected. But we need to let our administrators feel confident that they can move forward and know where they're headed and not have any sense of uncertainty.
Okay, thank you. It occurs to me that nobody's talked about how the public perceives this. We've heard some negative comments from the public, but I've been out talking a lot about our capital needs to business leaders in the community. And they always talk about Dr. Atkins. Dr. Atkins and the vision he brings, his ability to work with this governance team, the pride that this community takes in the kind of leadership that's being demonstrated in this district today. You know, I know that the community supports, recognizes the work that he's done, supports our efforts to compensate him for the work that he's doing and for the work that we expect going forward. So and business people obviously recognize the need, as Mr. Teuber has so effectively said. They recognize the need to pay people who are getting the job done, and so I will be supporting this also. Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 One nay.
Okay. Motion carries 6-1. Time for board member comments. Start with Ms. Fisher.
I have none. Thank you.
I have none.
No, thank you.
I have none.
I just have one, just because people are out there watching on TV, I encourage you to go to the school district website, and there you will find the link for the summer meals that are provided and the schools that are providing those. So I encourage you to follow up with your neighbors. Make sure they know where those needs can be met.
Mr. Martin?
No comment this evening, thank you.
Dr. Atkins?
Just want to say, first of all, I'm deeply appreciative and humbled by the support of this board. It is truly an honor and a privilege to serve this district and be a part of this dynamic and also courageous team. You make me look forward to the work. I'm excited about the work that we do have ahead of us and what we can do together as a team. So again, just thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
At this point, having no other business to come before this body, I will entertain a motion for adjournment. Moved by Ms. Fisher.
Ms. Giovanelli?
Second by Mrs. Giovanelli. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.